The auction barn in Willow Ridge. The old auction barn in Willow Ridge, Montana shook under the noise of a Saturday crowd. Wooden beams groaned overhead, dust drifted like faded memories, and the smell of hay mixed with diesel fumes from parked trucks outside. People had gathered from nearby farms, ranches, and tiny mountain towns to bid on animals no one wanted anymore. Horses that couldn't run, goats that stopped producing milk, dogs too old or too broken to be useful. In the darkest corner of the barn, behind rusted metal bars, sat a German shepherd whose future had already been written off by most of the world. His fur was matted and dull, patches missing from old wounds. One ear hung in a permanent tear, and a thin scar traced down his muzzle like a reminder of the battles he once fought. The sign above his cage read, Lot 59, retired K9, injured, unstable, $1 starting bid. But no one called him by his number. Once upon a time, he had been known proudly as Rex. Once he had been a hero. 2. The forgotten soldier. Rex had belonged to the Helena City Police K9 unit, where his handler, Officer Marcus Dale, treated him like family. Together, they had tracked criminals through forests, located missing hikers in snowstorms, and protected schools during lockdown drills. Children used to run up to him at public events, giggling as they touched his shiny badge tag. Rex never growled then. He was proud, dedicated, alive with purpose. But heroes get tired too. One night, during a warehouse raid, Rex pushed forward to shield Marcus from a gunman. His once powerful body weakened, and the department made a decision that changed his life forever. Unfit for duty, too unstable. Retire him. But retirement didn't mean rest. It meant abandonment. He was transferred between shelters until eventually ending up on the auction list at Willow Ridge, not as a hero, but as a burden, $1's worth of forgotten bravery. 3. The auction begins inside the barn. The auctioneer, a tall man named Bert Coleman, famous for shouting more than speaking, slammed his gavel on the wooden podium. All right, folks, next up Lot 59. Retired police dog. Injured, temperamental. Starting bid is $1. People murmured, unimpressed. A rancher shook his head. That dog won't hurt a chicken. A teenager snickered. Look at his limp. Probably can't even bark right. A woman whispered to her friend. Dangerous dogs like that should be put down. Rex heard every word, every breath, every judgment. He lowered his head to the dirty floor, bracing himself for the moment the gavel slammed with no buyer. He was ready for the familiar silence that followed rejection, but instead, the barn doors creaked open. Everyone turned. And in stepped someone no one expected. 4. The little girl in the yellow coat. The sunlight spilling in from outside framed a small figure. A girl no older than 7, wearing a bright yellow coat and holding her mother's hand. Her name was Maya Brooks. Maya came from a small farmhouse at the edge of Willow Ridge. Her mother, Officer Hannah Brooks, had driven her into town to buy chicken feed. She hadn't planned to attend the auction. They were just passing by when Maya begged to see the animals. She walked through the barn wide-eyed, listening to the shouts, the laughter, the bids rising and falling like waves. But then she saw him. She stopped mid-step, letting go of her mother's hand. Her eyes locked onto the trembling German shepherd in the corner. Something in her tiny heart recognized him. Not his strength, not his scars, not his story. She recognized his sadness. Mom, she whispered, tugging softly at Officer Brooks' sleeve. Why is that dog all alone? Hannah followed her gaze and frowned. Sweetie, that one's not for us. He's hurt. And scared, but Maya shook her head gently. He's just sat, Mommy, not scary. People around them laughed at her innocence, but Maya paid no attention. Her feet carried her closer to the cage, her yellow coat brushing against the dusty air. Rex raised his head. His ears twitched. He felt seen. 5. I want to buy him. As the auctioneer raised his gavel again, preparing to close the lot with no bids, Maya stepped forward. Her voice was small, but in the silence of the barn it carried more power than any shout. I want to buy him. The entire barn froze. Adults stared. Children blinked. The auctioneer almost dropped his gavel. Officer Brooks rushed toward her, whispering urgently, Maya, no! Honey, that dog isn't safe. But Maya held out a single crumpled dollar bill in her tiny hands, the only money she had saved from her allowance. I want to buy him. she repeated, louder this time, her voice trembling not with fear, but with courage. The crowd erupted. Is she crazy? That dog is dangerous. That mutt isn't worth the trouble. Let the kid waste her dollar. Someone record this. But Rex didn't growl. For the first time in months, he simply watched her, really watched her. She wasn't afraid. She wasn't disgusted. She wasn't laughing. She was reaching out. 6. Touch of trust. Officer Brooks knelt beside her daughter, torn between fear and awe. Honey, she whispered. He might bite. But Maya stepped even closer, kneeling before the cage, her small hand pressing gently against the cold metal bars. It's okay, she whispered, barely audible. You're not bad. You're just hurting. Her voice was different from the others. Soft, warm, honest. Rex's body stiffened. He leaned back unsure, trembling. Hands had only brought him pain for so long, but this hand felt like something he remembered from another life. Slowly, ever so slowly, Rex lifted his paw. His scarred paw reached the metal bars and rested gently against Maya's tiny palm. Gasps filled the barn. Someone dropped their coffee. The auctioneer's jaw hit the floor. Officer Brooks covered her mouth with shaking hands. And Maya smiled a smile so bright it could melt the harshest winter. See? She whispered. You remember love. Rex closed his eyes. And for the first time since that gunshot night, his tail moved. A tiny wag. A spark of life. 7. Sold for $1. The auctioneer cleared his throat, still stunned. Well, $1 going once. Silence. Going twice. The crowd leaned forward. Sold. To the little lady in the yellow coat. The gavel struck. Maya beamed. Officer Brooks sighed, but there was pride behind her worry. Papers were signed. A leash was handed over. Maya held it gently, not like a rope, but like a promise. Come on, boy, she said softly, standing just outside the cage. Rex hesitated. Freedom looked too bright, too dangerous, too unreal. But Maya held out her hand again. And with one limp step, Rex walked out of his cage. Not as Lot 59, but as Maya's dog. 8. A new home in Willow Ridge. The old farmhouse sat at the foot of a wide meadow, framed by pine trees and a creek that sparkled in the morning sun. Rex stepped inside hesitantly, sniffing corners, flinching at every new sound. Every bowl, every chair, every doorway felt foreign. But each time he panicked, Maya's small hand would land on his back. I'm here, she whispered. I won't let anything hurt you. Over the next days, Rex slowly learned the rhythm of a gentle home. Maya, brushing his fur every morning, Officer Brooks feeding him warm meals, a blanket by the fireplace with his new name stitched into it. Walks along the meadow nights, filled with peace instead of cages each day. Hope replaced fear. Each night, he slept deeper, but the past still followed him. When sirens from distant highways echoed through the hills, Rex would freeze, his body shaking violently. Memories of gunfire and pain clawed back in. One night, a thunderstorm erupted over Willow Ridge. Maya found Rex cowering beneath the table, trembling uncontrollably. Without fear, she crawled under with him. She wrapped her arms around his neck and whispered stories until he stopped shaking. You don't have to be brave anymore, she said. I'll be brave for you. Rex rested his head on her knee. His new home wasn't perfect, but it held love. And for Rex, that was everything. 9. A danger returns 3 weeks later. Willow Ridge faced a storm of a different kind. A man on the run armed, dangerous had fled into the forest near their home. Police cruisers raced through the valley, sirens echoing. Officer Brooks grabbed her radio. Maya, stay inside with Rex. Lock the doors. I'll be back soon. But Maya watched her mother drive off with fear in her eyes. Rex sensed it. He paced the floor restlessly, ears alert. Hours passed. Thunder rolled. Rain hammered the windows. And Maya sat silently beside Rex, clutching his fur. Suddenly, a sound outside. Footsteps. Slow. Heavy. Maya's heart pounded. The doorknob turned. The door creaked open. A man stepped inside, soaking wet, wild-eyed, clutching a knife. The escapee. He locked eyes with Maya, and Rex's world snapped into focus. He lunged forward, not with anger, but with purpose. With the bravery he thought he had lost forever. He positioned himself between Maya and the intruder, teeth bared, body trembling yet unbroken. The man raised his knife. Rex growled, a deep, powerful sound that shook the room. "Don't come closer," Maya whispered, tears forming. The man stepped back, startled, just as police sirens screamed outside. Officer Brooks burst through the back door with 2 deputies. The intruder dropped the knife. He was handcuffed instantly. Brooks knelt beside her daughter, scooping her into her arms. "Oh, thank God, are you hurt?" she cried. Maya shook her head, pointing at Rex. "He saved me, Mommy." Rex collapsed onto the floor, exhausted but safe. He wasn't a broken dog. He wasn't a dollar dog. He was a hero once again. 10. A new purpose after that night. Everything changed for Rex. He became the talk of Willow Ridge. The mayor visited their home. The police chief awarded him a Medal of Courage. Local kids brought him treats and handmade cards. But none of that mattered to Rex. What mattered was the little girl who held his leash like a treasure. Maya didn't care about medals or praise. She only cared that her best friend was finally safe. And every night, as she curled beside him on his blanket by the fire, she whispered, "You saved me. Just like you used to save everyone else." Rex would rest his head on her lap. He wasn't a forgotten soldier anymore. He was loved. He was home. And he was worth far more than $1.